More than a quarter of MPs who won in this federal election are brand new to this political sphere. Over the next few weeks, we'll be speaking to a few of those first-time MPs about the impact that they're hoping to make on our country. Joining us this morning is Liberal MP-elect for Oakville, Anita Anand. Welcome to your morning.
Welcome, and thank you so much.
Beyond the Liberals' federal priorities, what are your priorities for the community of Oakville, specifically South Oakville, which is where you won?
I spent the last few months knocking on thousands and thousands of doors. And what I'm hearing from our community is they want a strong voice in Ottawa representing their interests. They're focused on things like the environment, National Pharmacare program, a strong economy, and I'm going to do my very best to represent those interests when I get to Ottawa.
Before the campaign, you were working as a law professor at the University of Toronto. You spent a lot of time in academia, very different than the world of politics. As we are looking at all of the MPs who will now potentially make up cabinet, do you see, Justice Minister perhaps in your future?
That's interesting, but my main focus right now is to represent the people who elected me. I have spent the last 5 months telling Oakville residents that I will be a strong voice in Ottawa, and that's exactly what I'm going to do.
During the campaign, you tweeted a few times about diversity and inclusion. These are topics that came up throughout this 40-day campaign. How do you think they can be improved in federal politics? We saw some of these issues come up in the last 4 years.
Exactly. I've spent a lot of my academic life promoting the importance of diversity on boards of directors. And I think it's generally important for us to think about all organizations as areas where diversity can be improved. We need to make sure that these organizations represent the demographics of the Canadian population, and government's no different. And that's why, in fact, one of the reasons I wanted to run.
I've spoken to MPs in the past who have come from communities of color or racialized communities who say they feel like they have that feeling when they get to Ottawa, and then when they get into the House of Commons, it's very different. Beforehand, people want to hear what they have to say. Once they get there, they feel silenced. How are you going to fight back against that?
Again, as a law professor, I have spent my life advocating for various policy initiatives. For example, I'm an expert in governance, an expert in ethics, and financial market regulation. And so I've worked with federal and provincial governments around the policy table, making sure that my voice is heard. Hopefully that will be useful when I get to Parliament.
Throughout the campaign, Liberal leader Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said that he may intervene in Quebec's secularism law. We saw that towards the latter end of the campaign. When we're talking about a values test in the province of Quebec, for example, is this an instance where the Liberal government would get involved?
It's difficult for me to say. I'm not in Ottawa yet. I'm going to go next week for my orientation. So it's very difficult for me to know exactly what the approach of the Liberal government will be in the next Parliament, the 43rd Parliament of Canada. But of course, I remain committed to diversity and inclusion in the broader Canadian society.
There's a lot of populations who will look to people of color, regardless of what party they represent, to be a voice for them in Ottawa. As a first-time MP, is there anyone that you're going to look to as a mentor, to look to for guidance? Because as you've said, you've spent more than 2 decades in the world of academia. You're walking into a very different workplace setting.
It's so true, and it's so important for young people in particular to have role models and mentors. And I've spent the last 22 years as a law professor mentoring young professionals, including the law students I teach. By the same token, I've been graced with many mentors myself in the legal field, in the political sphere, and generally as a member of the scholarly profession. So I'll be looking to those mentors, I'm sure.
Have you had anyone reach out to you from the previous Liberal Party? Not yet?
Not yet, actually. I did meet with Bob Ray earlier this week, who gave me some really sound advice, so I appreciated that.
Is there a piece that you're going to take with you as you head to Ottawa in November?
He said to me, and I agree with this, be patient. You need to really make sure that what you're going to contribute is meaningful, and you need to be patient to make sure that you have the time to make sure that happens.
Good advice. Anita, congratulations on your win.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me on.
Thanks for watching. If you like this, be sure to subscribe here.
And you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.